Deeper still he ventured, into the inactive lava zone, where the water shimmered with heat. My species would appreciate the temperature here, at least, he joked, though the lack of solid ground would still be disturbing. The revelation of the Sea Emperor Leviathan, an ancient benevolent creature seeking help to save its young, affected Zaxvor profoundly. When the massive being telepathically communicated with his character, his viewers noticed his scales shift to a deep indigo, a color rarely seen in Erathian emotional displays. "It wants to save its children," he said softly. All this time, the narrative was leading to this moment. Not a monster to be defeated, but an ancient being to be understood and helped. As he worked through the final stages of the game, helping to hatch the Sea Emperor's eggs and finding a cure for the planet's infection, Zaxvor's commentary became reflective. Humans created this story about understanding alien life, about cooperation rather than conquest, about finding beauty in the depths that terrify. His scales had settled into a calm blue-green. It speaks volumes about them as a species. When the final sequences played and his character escaped the planet, Zaxvor sat in silence for a moment before addressing his audience. "When I began this game, I saw only what terrified me, the endless water, the darkness below, the creatures that lurked in that darkness. I missed what the human creators were actually showing, a complete world with wonders as numerous as its dangers." He brought up images from his gameplay, the bioluminescent organisms of the deep, the intricate coral formations, the graceful movements of the ghost leviathans. "My species avoids water. We evolved to fear it because on our world, water is scarce and dangerous. Humans evolved alongside it, within it, and their relationship with it is complex. They fear it, yes, but they also revere it. They find beauty in what terrifies them." Zaxvor's final thoughts turned philosophical. Perhaps that is the most human trait of all, the ability to look into the abyss, acknowledge its dangers, and still find it beautiful. To create art from fear rather than being consumed by it. As the stream concluded, Zaxvor made an announcement that surprised his viewers. "Next week, we begin another human aquatic adventure, something called ABZU. Apparently, it's about embracing the ocean rather than surviving it. I find myself curious." His scales flushed purple with excitement, genuine this time, not nervous. "Until then, may your journeys be fascinating, whether across dry lands or deep waters." The comment section exploded with excitement, and one particular message stood out. For 30 seconds, he didn't speak. His viewers thought the stream had frozen until they noticed his scales had turned a stark white, the Exarathian equivalent of going pale with fear. He finally managed. "I think we're done for today." His voice was unnaturally calm. "The humans, they created this. They imagined this horror and then built a world around it for fun." As he prepared to end the stream, he added thoughtfully, "Perhaps there is more to understand about humans than I initially thought. A species that creates entertainment from that which would traumatize my kind. What does that say about their psychology?" One final comment caught his eye before he signed off. "Wait until he discovers the ghost leviathans in the void." "The what and the where?" Zaxvor asked, but then shook his head. No, I don't want to know." Stream concluded. "May your sands remain dry." The transmission ended, but not before his viewers heard him muttering, "A planet of water. An entire planet. What kind of mind envisions such terror? Ocean's embrace. I said I wouldn't return, and yet here I am. The things I do for my viewers." Zaxvor adjusted his new streaming setup, now reinforced against potential panic-induced damage, and looked directly into the camera. The follower count displayed at the corner of his interface had nearly doubled since his last Subnautica stream. "Before we begin, I have consulted with a human psychological expert," he announced. "They've provided me with what they call coping mechanisms for dealing with thalassophobia, the fear of deep water. Apparently, It's common even among humans, despite them evolving on a water world. He displayed a list on his secondary screen. Controlled breathing techniques. Reality grounding, remembering it's just a game. Exposure therapy, gradual immersion. Focus on the beauty, not the terror. So armed with these strategies and 3 stimulant beverages, we shall continue our exploration of this watery nightmare that humans call entertainment. This time, Zaxfor loaded his saved game with determination etched on his scaled features. His base, chaotic but functional, appeared on screen. Today, we head deeper. The game's narrative apparently requires it. His approach had changed. Where before there was blind panic, now there was cautious respect. He carefully prepared resources, upgraded his equipment, and even named his new submersible. "I'm calling it Desert Mirage," he told his audience, because like a mirage, it offers the promise of safety in this hostile environment. Yet that safety may prove illusory. A viewer commented, "That's surprisingly poetic for someone who screamed at seaweed last stream." Zaxfor's neck frills fluttered in amusement. "Growth, my friend. Personal growth. The journey to the Lost River, a deep brine-filled biome filled with fossil remains, was tense but controlled." Zaxfor flinched less, though his scales still fluctuated between yellow, anxiety, and blue, focus, as he navigated the narrow passages. "Look at the skeletal remains," he marveled, voice hushed with awe rather than fear. The designers created an entire evolutionary history for this fictional planet. The attention to detail, it's magnificent. When a ghost leviathan appeared, silently gliding through the green-tinged water, Zaxfor tensed, but did not panic. "Observe," he whispered to his audience, "how it moves with purpose but not malice. It's part of an ecosystem, not a monster designed solely to terrorize." His analysis of the game began to shift from the perspective of fear to one of appreciation. The humans who designed this weren't just creating horror, he noted while exploring an abandoned alien base. They were creating a world with internal logic, predators and prey, evolution and adaptation. The fear isn't the point. It's a byproduct of immersion. Deep dive dread. Greetings, cherished followers. Today we continue our journey through classic human entertainment. Zaxfor adjusted his heat lamps and positioned his ocular ridges toward the camera. As a Xerathian, a species evolved on a desert planet with less than 2% surface water, he had built his entire streaming career on experiencing water-rich worlds through the safety of virtual reality. His 6-fingered hand hovered over the holographic interface. The Human Gaming Archive has provided us with something called Subnautica. According to the description, it's an aquatic survival experience from their early digital entertainment era, before neural interfaces. Zaxfor's scaled skin flushed a light purple, excitement for those familiar with Xerathian physiology. His 17,000 viewers sent rippling emotion glyphs across his feed, mostly showing anticipation. "Let us begin." He initiated the game, and the introduction sequence played. A spacecraft, a crash, fire, and then water. Endless water. The purple tint of his scales immediately shifted to a pale yellow. "By the void, it's everywhere," he whispered as his character plunged into the alien ocean. "The humans call this entertainment." The panic in Zaxfor's voice was unmistakable but genuine. On Xerath, large bodies of water were mythological horrors. Children were told stories about oceans as cautionary tales. Now he was virtually immersed in one, and the primal part of his brain couldn't distinguish between simulation and reality. When the escape pod breached the surface, Zaxfor released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The comments from his viewers scrolled rapidly. "The desert dweller meets the deep. Has he realized humans are 70% watered yet? I'm betting he doesn't last 5 minutes in the kelp forest." Zaxfor read some aloud and flared his neck ridges in what humans would recognize as a nervous laugh. "You're all enjoying my discomfort, I see. Very well, let us venture forth. For science and entertainment." The first time he descended from the escape pod, his movements were tentative. The colorful fish darting around made him jump. They just swim right at you. Do they have no sense of personal space? This got a surge of laughing emojis from his viewers. When he encountered his first stalker, a shark-like predator native to the kelp forests of Subnautica, the stream nearly ended prematurely. Zaxvor shrieked at a pitch his species usually reserved for territorial disputes, knocked over one of his heat lamps, and actually disconnected from the game interface. No, void take it. What was that abomination? He gasped, scales now a sickly green. It has too many teeth, far too many, and it just lunges at you. After composing himself amid the delighted chaos of his stream chat, Zaxvor reluctantly returned to the game. You asked for this. Remember that you asked for this. What followed was 2 hours of Zaxvor attempting to gather resources, build a basic habitat, and survive, all while flinching at the slightest movement in the water. His commentary became a mixture of scientific observations and primal fear. The physics engine is quite impressive for such primitive technology, he noted while swimming through a coral reef. The way light filters through the "What way is that noise? Did you hear it? Something's hunting me. I know it." His base-building attempts were equally chaotic, with structures that defied conventional design sense. One viewer commented that his habitat looked like the architectural offspring of an anxiety attack and a geometry error. It's functional, Zaxvor defended. And more importantly, it minimizes window space. I don't need to see, out there, more than necessary. The real turning point came when he ventured deeper, past the safe shallows, and into the underwater caves. The darkness, combined with the limited oxygen supply, created a tension that had Zaxvor's scales cycling through colors faster than his camera could adjust. I can't see the bottom, he whispered as he peered over an underwater cliff. There's just darkness, endless darkness, and something's down there. I can hear it. The moment the Reaper Leviathan emerged from the gloom, Zaxvor didn't even scream. He froze, mandibles slack, as the massive creature seized his character and destroyed his submersible vehicle in a single attack. From a human viewer, you just understood something about us that many of our own kind never grasped. We create what scares us because facing it in art helps us face it in reality. Welcome to the depths, friend. Zaxvor read it aloud and nodded respectfully. To create from fear rather than flee from it. Truly, humanity's imagination is as vast as their oceans.